Well, what do you know? It has been a year since this particular franchise intruded into my brain, and they're still stuck in there. Anyway, being a fan of numerous franchises is no easy task, but I love challenges. Something a little personal about me is that almost every year I find a new interest in something, whether it being like any sort of brand or, just a TV show, a video game franchise, etc. Then after a while, that new interest would either remain part of my personality, or I would just drop it after a while and only bring it up when necessary. Thankfully, that hasn't happened in a while, especially now that I'm a fan of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, of all freaking things. I'm sorry, I really am. I just can't get enough of the show. The more I watch an episode of it and Equestria Girls, my brain just demands to talk to someone else who could understand. And you as my fellow viewers and subscribers are the only ones I could think of. To think that all those years when the show was releasing new episodes, I would just ignore it since, well, you can't really blame me for doing so, can ya? Apparently this show is not just another generic cartoon aimed for young girls. It has personality and charm, actually. I know it might be difficult to view me as a brony because you don't see posters or figurines or plushies of Rainbow Dash, Derpy, Sunset Shimmer, or Starlight Glimmer anywhere in my room. Yet. Nor do I have a pony OC, much like other people. But trust me, I'm into the show just as much as all you fellow bronies out there. And surprisingly, not a single person has made fun of me about it yet. Liar! What's my favorite episode? Well, for that one person wondering, I'll answer that by saying, I don't have one. Why? Because the show has 9 seasons, and with each having a total of 26 episodes, except for season 3 for I don't know why. Although, the one that caught my attention the most was the cutie remark, so there's that. But the episode I hate the most at the moment has to be Ponyville Confidential, because I hate every character in that episode, to put it lightly. Favorite pony is still Rainbow Dash, all because she's the one I relate to the most. One thing's for sure, I'm definitely gonna be the odd one out in this fandom since I'm not one to scream in people's ears about ships and whatnot. I mean, yeah, I do love Rarajack, Flutterdash, and such. I think it's cute. I will say this though, if you actually ship Spike and Rarity together, you disgust me. But I'm mostly here for the show itself, along with the characters that are involved with it. So far, this reactor is one of the best MLP tubers I've come across just because of how energetic and enthusiastic his reactions are. Despite this fandom being infamous for things I can't even say in this video, what matters is that, for the most part, people tend to always do one thing in this community, and that's to spread positivity, which I live for. And I can give out positive messages to the community, like this one. Please don't subscribe to this channel expecting every video of mine to be about the show because who knows when I'll talk about the show again. I of course don't just mean people cosplaying as these fictional characters. Still wish I had that kind of confidence. I guess despite the craziness that this TV show is known for, what it really teaches, if you look more into it, is that if you're into a franchise that you feel is out of your element, it doesn't make you crazy or weird in any way possible. You can fit right in, even if you feel like you don't belong, which I can understand since I was like that. For a short time anyway. The show itself does symbolize it with the tons of animal species we tend to see in the show, often like the ponies, the dragons, the yaks, etc. And to be honest with you, G4 is the only iteration of the franchise that interests me the most, which isn't that surprising to see why. I don't know, all the other generations just don't really do it for me, as they truly don't forget about the whole target demographic that this whole brand is aimed towards. Hell, from what I gathered, G5 mostly likes to build off of G4 and make it seem like the aftermath of the show, instead of, I don't know, have it be more of its own thing that doesn't try to relate to the generation before. And it's not like I wasn't aware of My Little Pony before this, since it would be hard to miss a franchise as iconic as this in terms of, girl media. Plus, I was already a Sonic fan, so I really didn't need another crazy fandom to be the guardian/parent of. Speaking of which, the Bronies are just as creative as Sonic fans are when it comes to fan animations and such, for the most part. Don't know if I mentioned that yet, but if I did, might as well do it again. I don't know how Hasbro did it, but they made a show that was able to teach valuable life lessons and spread positivity among the world, most of the time. Too bad their decisions these days don't compare to their past ones just by viewing what the MLP brand is up to these days. From what I gathered here, G5 barely marketed all that well, and they just marketed off of the success of G4 instead, because why wouldn't they? But G5 was somehow successful enough to get official video games, which is more than I can say for G4. I would say they didn't have to end Friendship is Magic like that, but thinking about it now, the show would have just ended up like SpongeBob or something, which is what cartoons these days should try to avoid. Speaking of which, the finale of the show just hit its 5th anniversary this year. Spare some applause. I don't know what it is, but ever since I started getting into the franchise, I felt like a huge sense of positivity and good feeling overall, way more than I already did. And to think in the 2010s when this community was popping off, I would do everything in my power to stay away from the show and the fandom, but here I am among them. But so far, I'm enjoying myself. I'm gonna regret joining this fandom and making this video at some point in the future, ain't I? Maybe I will, maybe I won't, who knows. I'm always about keeping up with the present and not the past or future anyway. Might as well enjoy my time with it now. I haven't even told my fam that I was into the franchise yet, but I do have the feeling I'm gonna have to eventually. Wish me luck if that happens. Who knows, maybe there's some Brony conventions in America I can attend someday. Assuming those are still a thing and don't make me flip like crazy again. Of course people want G4 to return with another season, and I can kind of agree, but gonna have to hold my integrity on this one. I think the show is fine as is, and doesn't really need a continuation since it had mostly a perfect run from what I've seen. I think Bronies will be fine unless Hasbro does some stupid shit. Like I said, it's really a good thing that the show didn't turn out like SpongeBob or Teen Titans Go, where they just let it run into the ground for the sake of popularity. Hasbro used their heads around the time of the show's conclusion, which is kind of a struggle for them nowadays. What I would want is for Equestria Girls to someday return, because I want to make sure they get the proper ending that they deserve. I'm seriously gonna need to see more of their adventures, songs, character chemistry, and such. Anyway, take this video as the way you want to take it, a weirdo rambling about his strange addiction to ponies. Hey, at least I'm self-aware. Alright, gonna cut this vid kinda short because I thought I'd give a quick update on my Brony status, and if anything happens, you all will be the first to know, so bye!
I need help. Lots and lots of it.